The remote Barrington Tops in New South Wales may be hundreds of kilometres from Tasmania, but it's home to some of the island's most famous residents. Here, 1,400 metres above sea level, dozens of Tasmanian Devils are part of a breeding project to conserve the endangered animals that are in rapid decline.
Devil Ark was founded on a need to establish an insurance population for Tassie Devils. In 1996, there was somewhere between 150 and 250,000 devils. There's now less than 20,000. Within 20 years, you had a 90% decline. It was very fair to panic. It's still fair to panic. Devils don't like being too hot. They do really well in this type landscape.
The park is run by conservationist Tim Faulkner, who found the perfect climate for the animals in the icy mountains of New South Wales.
It is just like a slice of Tasmania. The devils have unique personalities and characteristics, and that makes them very lovable.
Today, Tim and staff member Kel are checking a pregnant female Tasmanian Devil for joeys.
All right, do you want to grab her out? And we'll see if all of our work has paid off. You got joeys. So they're inside. Just recently we've announced that we've bred 69 joeys this year. At this point, midwinter, they're still only this big. So we've actually got a full pouch. Look at that, 4 joeys. I think now we're up to about 400 joeys within the last 10 years. So that in itself, as a reproductive output with a challenging species, is a critical success. What you're looking at there is a 3-hectare breeding yard.
Up on the mountain, the animals live in a sanctuary surrounded by a huge fence to protect them from predators like feral cats and foxes.
Come on.
They're in quite a big enclosure, but how do you ensure they maintain their natural traits, their sort of wild traits?
Well, Devil Ark really pioneered the breeding of devils in 3-hectare enclosures. Before that, it was a much smaller zoo-type traditional enclosure. And in a 3-hectare enclosure, they behave like wild devils, like this.
So what's going on here?
So what we just saw was bridging, where they come up and it's a test of strength. But the reality is, just like that, that was just a little nip. There's a hierarchy, and they understand it.
Tim thinks the animals have been misunderstood and misrepresented as aggressive and dangerous.
This too is the devil that we know. Really shy, timid, you know, look at this, not a sound, there's no aggression, there's no confrontation, and this is what a wild devil's like.
This Tasmanian Devil was orphaned and hand-raised here, so she's a lot quieter than the others. In the wild, the animals have been under threat since European settlers in Tasmania saw them as pests and started a very successful eradication program. But these days, the Tasmanian Devils have far bigger problems.
The outbreak of a deadly facial tumour in the 1990s has decimated the population.
We don't send devils back to Tassie to a tumoured landscape because it's death by tumour. The overarching goal in 50 years, 100 years, is to have Tasmanian devils in the landscape. But until the disease either burns itself out or there are other solutions, we just have to watch it.
Despite the rapid decline of the animals in the wild, Tasmanian Devil expert Hamish McCallum from Griffith University says the latest research shows they have a much brighter future than was once thought.
When I first went down to Tasmania 15 years ago, we had a real fear that the tumour was going to wipe them out. And it's quite clear that that hasn't happened, even in places where the tumour's been present for 25 years.
And he says there's evidence the devils themselves are developing a resistance to the tumours.
Used to be the case that the moment you saw any sign of a tumour, that devil would be dead within 6 months. There's a small number of animals still where the tumour has actually regressed.
It's really uncertain what's happening with the disease. Can the devil establish an immune response to the disease? Can it fight it itself? Essentially, as time goes on and there's a requirement to bolster the wild populations, we're able to supplement from a greater genetic pool than any one population has in Tasmania.
For Tim Faulkner, the prospect of losing a national icon is too tragic to contemplate.
When you go to Tassie and you see this big predator that's a native in the landscape. It's really unique. To think we could lose it, it's not a thought that I'm prepared to deal with.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.